Ambassador Zethkar adjusted his ceremonial robes as he stood before the towering spires of the Galactic Senate building. The crystalline structures pierced the violet sky of Nexus Prime like frozen lightning, their surfaces humming with the collective wisdom of 1,000 civilizations. Today's emergency session would determine the fate of an entire species, a young, violent race from the outer rim that called themselves humans. "The motion before us is clear," announced Chancellor Vexthol, her four arms gesturing toward the holographic display that showed a blue-green world spinning lazily in space. "The species designated as Terrans have demonstrated unprecedented aggression in their brief history. Wars, genocide, environmental destruction, all within a mere 10,000 rotations of their star. The Senate's Xenobiological Committee unanimously recommends quarantine protocols be maintained indefinitely." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the vast chamber. Representatives from the peaceful Etherians nodded their translucent heads, while the logical Cathari clicked their approval in binary harmony. Even the nomadic void dancers, typically neutral in all matters, swayed in consensus. Zethkar remained silent, his scaled fingers drumming against the obsidian podium. As the Drakmari Empire's chief xenologist, he had studied the Terrans longer than any being in the galaxy. What he had discovered defied every assumption about violent species. "I request permission to address the Senate," he said, his deep voice cutting through the chatter. Chancellor Vexthol's compound eyes fixed on him. "Ambassador Zethkar, your research on the Terran species is well documented. However, the evidence speaks for itself. They wage constant warfare." "With rules," Zethkar interrupted, stepping forward. "They created something called the Geneva Convention. Even in their darkest conflicts, they established boundaries, laws of war, protections for non-combatants. What other species attempts to civilize violence while still engaged in it?" Senator Krillmoth of the Hive Collective chittered dismissively. "Pretty words cannot mask their destructive nature. They poison their own atmosphere for profit." "And then reverse course when they realize the damage," Zethkar countered. "They've begun healing their world. Their renewable energy initiatives, conservation efforts, reforestation projects, all implemented within a single generation. The Etherians took 3,000 years to achieve similar environmental consciousness." The chamber fell quiet. Chancellor Vexthol leaned forward, her interest piqued despite herself. "Continue, Ambassador." Zethkar activated his personal holodisplay, showing footage captured by long-range observation drones. "I've studied them for 50 years. Yes, they are violent, but they are also curious to a degree that borders on madness. They launch themselves into space on controlled explosions. They dive to the deepest parts of their oceans. They climb their highest peaks simply because they are there, as one of them put it." The display shifted, showing humans performing acts of inexplicable bravery. A firefighter running into a burning building, a doctor working in a plague ward, a teacher shielding students from gunfire. They regularly risk their lives for complete strangers. No genetic imperative drives this behavior, they choose it. The Cathari would call it illogical. The Hive Collective would deem it inefficient, but I call it remarkable. Senator Krillmoth's mandibles clicked impatiently. "Anecdotal evidence. Their wars are ending," Zethkar said firmly. "Global conflict has decreased by 90% in the last 70 years. They've established international courts, peacekeeping forces, diplomatic protocols. They're learning, evolving faster than any species we've encountered." He paused, letting the weight of his next words settle over the chamber. "But there's something else. Something that makes them truly unique among the 700 races we've catalogued." The silence was absolute now. Even the void dancers had stopped their perpetual motion. "They dream of us." Confused murmurs arose. Chancellor Vexthol tilted, her head. "Explain." "Their entertainment media is filled with stories of first contact, meeting alien races. Some depict us as invaders, yes, but far more imagine us as friends, teachers, partners in exploration. They call space the final frontier. They actively hope they are not alone in the universe. What other species wishes for contact with the unknown? Zethkar's display showed human artwork, literature, and films depicting aliens in countless forms. They don't just tolerate diversity, they celebrate it. On their own world, they've learned to see differences in skin color, culture, and belief as strengths rather than threats. Imagine what they could bring to our galactic community. Their weapons technology, began Senator Fex of the Crystalline Hegemony, could defend worlds that the Hive Collective and Shadow Fleet threaten, Zethkar finished. Their military innovations come from necessity, not malice. They've never fought a war of pure conquest, always in response to aggression or in defense of allies. The ambassador's voice grew passionate. We've spent centuries building this Senate on principles of peace, cooperation, and mutual advancement. Yet we deny membership to the one species that embodies these ideals most purely. They give their lives for strangers. They explore at any cost. They dream of friendship with beings they've never met. He gestured to the spinning Earth on the main display. The quarantine was meant to protect the galaxy from them, but I propose that we need protection from our own complacency. When did we become so afraid of passion that we mistake it for primitiveness? When did we become so comfortable with mediocrity that we shun excellence? Chancellor Vexthal stood slowly, her forearms spread wide. The Senate will recess for deliberation. 3 hours later, as delegates filed back into the chamber, Zethkar noticed something unprecedented. The usually unanimous voting blocks were fragmented. Etherians argued among themselves. Kithari displayed emotional subroutines in their optical arrays. The vote is decided, announced the Chancellor. By a margin of 3 votes, the Senate approves limited contact protocols with the Terran species. Cheers erupted from some sections while others sat in stunned silence. Ambassador Zethkar, the Chancellor continued, you will lead the first contact mission. As Zethkar bowed his acceptance, he couldn't help but smile. In 6 months, his ship would enter Earth's solar system, carrying greetings from the stars. He wondered if the humans would be surprised to learn that curiosity, the very trait that made them remarkable, had led the galaxy straight to their door. Perhaps, he mused, they would understand. After all, curiosity was apparently a universal language.